Hello students, welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we had started the ancient history and we have discovered several parts of it. In this lecture, we are going to study about the coinage system which was prevailed in the ancient India. Okay, so make sure all the points which I will tell you in this lecture, you must write them down because these points are very important from your examination point of view. Okay, so let's start. So today we having a part E of ancient India, okay, which is the coins of ancient India. Okay, remember we have covered the time period. Okay, thereafter we have covered post Mauryan, post Gupta periods. Okay, then we had also covered about the inscriptions, and then today we are going to cover about the coins. Okay, so make sure you revise all these things so that you will be able to attempt your paper with effective planning. Okay, so let's start the topic. So first we have coins of ancient India. Okay, but before it we must understand what do you mean by coin. What, let me write down here, what do we mean by coin? Okay, that should be the question. What do we mean by coin? What is the meaning of coin? Okay, and why the coins are used? Basically, you can say coins are used as currency or money for economic activities. Okay, so this is the basic definition of coin. Okay, coins are basically used as currency or money for economic activities. Got it? Now we have got two new points here, currency and money. What do you mean by it? Okay, so now our question has been changed from what do we mean by coin to what do we mean by currency or money. Okay, that should be our question right now. So basically, if I ask you what do you mean by currency or money, we must understand the difference between barter system and money system. Okay, the barter system means exchange of goods as per need of the two or more parties. Okay, so basically barter system means exchange of goods as per need of two or more parties. Let's suppose there are two people, this one and this one. This one looking for shoes, this one looking for wheat. Okay, so our first person having the wheat, our second person having the shoes. In this scenario, if we look them carefully, then they both are able to fulfill each other's need. Okay, that one may give the shoes to him, that one may give wheats to him. Okay, so they will do exchange of goods. That one will provide wheat to him, that one will provide shoe to him. Okay, so this is a concept of barter system. Now let's talk about the money. Let's talk about the money system. Okay, let's talk about the money system. So basically, money or currency is fixed denomination to be used for various economic activities. So basically, you can say in money system we use that fixed denomination, okay, to various economic activities like buying, selling, investments, loans, and all. Okay, these are fixed in denomination. Got it? Like if there is rupees 10 coin or 10 rupees notes, whatever it is, okay, then the denomination is fixed 10. You cannot purchase an item for 20. Okay, however, you can purchase an item for lower like for rupees 5, but you are eligible to get rupees 5 in return. Okay, so basically you can say there is a fixed denomination. Got it? So this is a money system. Now the question is, what is an advantage of money system over the barter system? Okay, so let's start. So just suppose there are three parties, starting with a two. That person who is looking for shoes and having a wheat. Okay, that person who is looking for rice and having a shoes. Okay, and just suppose that person and this person met each other. Okay, in this scenario, are they able to do exchange? The answer is no, because as per the barter system, there should be a mutual need. That person is looking for the shoes. Yeah, he has them, but he is looking for rice and he has only wheat. So there will be a no deal. Okay, and that was the major reason on that time. Because of this, many economic activities were disrupted. Okay, in the second scenario, if we remove these things, okay, we remove the wheat and rice and all the things. Okay, that person having shoes, that person looking for shoes. Okay, and the shoes are of fixed denomination of rupees 500. That person having rupees 500. Okay, in this scenario, he can simply give this rupees to them and then purchase the shoes. Okay, without any problem that whether he needs it or not needs it. So that was the advantage. Got it? You just require to have the money of fixed denomination in respect of the product which you want to buy. Got it? And then you are able to buy it. There is no need to exchange a mutual goods, because you and that person looking for different things and similar things. Okay, so that was an advantage of money system over the barter system. Got it? One more thing which I would like to add here is that barter system was completely removed during British era. Okay, so during British era, the barter system was completely removed. Why? Because before the British, there were other Europeans also, like Portuguese, okay, like your French, okay, French came after, like your Dutch, okay, then your British, then your French, then your Drakes. Basically, they are the Drakes or Denkis. Denmark people they are. Okay, so these were the Europeans who were trading with the India. These Europeans, Portuguese and Dutch, they were buying spices basically in exchange of gold and silver. And Roman Empire was also doing the same thing. Okay, when Britishers came to India, they found it difficult to trade with them because the Indians were using the barter system. It simply means that if you want to purchase something from me, you are supposed to give me the exact thing which I want in return. Okay, if you don't have, then I will not give the goods to you. That was the problem facing by the Britishers. So what they did, they completely introduced market economy, which was based on money system or monetary system. Okay, so basically we can say that the complete market economy and money system was introduced during the British rule. The reason I have told you. Okay, but it does not mean that India were not using coins before the Britishers or currency before the Britishers. Yes, we were using them. Okay, and the proof is in this lecture, coins of ancient India. Okay, so basically the coins of ancient India are fascinating aspect of the subcontinent's history, provide valuable insights into economic, political, cultural and technological developments of various ancient Indian dynasties and empires. India's numismatic, what is numismatic? Is a a study of ancient coins. Okay, so Indian's numismatic history spans over 2 millennia, and diversity of coinage reflects a region-rich, complex history. Now the question is, how can a coin reflects a history? That's the main question. How the coin reflects the history? If I bring out rupees 10 coin from my pocket, is there any chance that that coin bring me a history? Yes. How? First of all, it bears the name of government, like government of India. Okay. And by this, I could trace the rule of government of India and the years related with it. Similarly, the ancient time had ruler's name on coin along with the government name. Okay. Also about the achievements mentioned on coin. Okay. Mentioned on coins. Also religious deities were mentioned on coins. Okay. So during the ancient times, the coins were not only using for economic activities, but were also using by the rulers to propagate their thinking, because they bears the name of the government to show their power. They bring the name of the ruler to show the ruler who was ruling them. Thereafter, the achievements and the messages from the ruler. And the fourth is religious deities were mentioned on the coins to show that the ruler is connected with the god. Got it? So these were the ideas which are associated with the coin system of India. Got it? Now let's move forward. So basically we have the early coinage. India is one of the earliest regions to adopt coinage as medium of exchange. This earliest coins is India's date back to the 600th century BCE, and these were basically known as early punch-marked coins. So these systems were basically known as early punch-marked coins, and the time period was 6th century BCE to 2nd century BCE. That was the time period from 6th century BCE to 2nd century BCE, right? Okay, so the question is, why they are known as early punch-marked coins? What was the reason? Basically, the reason was these coins were marked with different punches to show the authority of issuers. Okay, so these coins were basically punched with the market. Okay, just suppose there is an authority A, B, and C. They having a punch mark of lion, they having the punch mark of tree, they having the punch mark of moon. Just suppose. Okay, so if you find out coin 1, coin 2, and coin 3. In coin 1, you see that there is a tree printed on it. For coin 2, you see there is a moon printed on it. For in coin 4, you see there is a lion or lion printed on it. Then if I ask you, okay, tell me which coins belong to the which authority, will you be able to do it? Very simply, you will be able to do it. You will just say, oh, it having that tree, that means it was issued by the B. Oh, it having a moon, that means it was issued by C. Oh, it having the lion, so it was issued by A. See, just by seeing the punch mark on the coins, you are able to tell me who was the issuer of that coins. So that why these coins were punched with the markings, and these marking shows the authority which published these coins. Got it? So that was the first thing, that these coins were marked with the different punches to show the authority of issuer. Got it? Second thing which we must note, that about the shape of these coins. So these coins were basically in the quadrilateral shapes. These coins were basically in the quadrilateral shape. Second point was first issued by the merchant guilds. Okay, so the guilds of merchants were the first who issued these coins, later adopted by royal households. Got it? So basically the merchants were the one who started issuing these coins. Later the rulers and the royal households adopted the same. The third point is that these coins were mainly made up of silver. Okay, but copper coins also existed. Okay, so these are the points regarding the early coinage. First thing, they were punched with the symbols to show the authority of the issuer. Second, they were quadrilateral in shape. Third point, the merchant guilds were the first one who issued this coin. Later, this was adopted by the royal households. The fourth one is that the silver was mainly used to publish these coins, but copper coins also existed. Okay, now let's move forward. Now we have the Mauryan coins. We have the Mauryan coins. Okay, so basically the Mauryans has the taxation system of 1/4. Okay, so basically the Mauryans had the taxation system of 1/4 crops. Okay, it simply means that if you are producing the 10 units, then 1/4 means 10/40. It means out of 40, 10 units will be submitted to the state as a tax. Okay, but here is one thing. This tax was collected in form of agriculture crops and agricultural needs. Then why they issued the coins? Because they also had the water tax, which is known as Setu Bandh. Okay, so the irrigation facilities using by the agriculturers, they are required to pay the tax to the government, means the royal household, which was Setu Bandh, which is regarding 1/3. Okay, and also they held various tolls and taxes which are supposed to be paid to the royal household, and for these things they issued coins. For these things they issued coins, and the first one was Chandragupta Maurya, because he was the founder who issued the coins. Got it? And these coins were standardized, means these were of fixed denomination. These were of fixed denominations. Got it? And their main coins were of silver and copper, which also contain symbols and inscriptions. Like I had told you, Ashoka used to propagate his messages through inscriptions. So he also utilized the coins to print his thinkings, his ideas on the inscriptions, so that the person who will be using the coin will get the idea of Ashoka. Okay, now let's move forward. Now we have the Greek coins. Okay, now we have the Greek. So the Indo-Greek rulers of northwestern India, basically known as the Indo-Bactrian. Bactrians. Okay, they are mainly known as Indo-Bactrian. Got it? So these were the Greek rulers who issued coins in India. Okay, it is believed that they had huge influence on Indian coinage system. Okay, so the Indo-Bactrian, who was also known as the Greek influencers, okay, it is believed that they had the huge influence on the Indian coinage system. Why? Because of two reasons. First, they were the first rulers to issue gold coins. Okay. Second reason was that they shown ruler in front and god in back. Okay. So basically, not only they were the first who issued the gold coins for the first time in India. Second thing, they were the one who started embodied ruler image on coins with God. Okay, they were not only showing their images on the coins, but they were also using the images of gods. Okay, and what was the criteria? Like if this is a coin, then at front there was a king, at back there was a god. That's how they showed king is upper the god. Got it? Now come to the next one. They are the Kushans. Okay. So Kushan Empire, who spanned parts of modern day India, Pakistan, and Central Asia, issued a wide variety of coins, or you can say they were the first one to issue coins of high quality and numbers. Okay. So basically, you can say the Indo-Bactrians were the ones who started the gold coins, but the Kushans were the one who first time issued the gold coins in the high quality and huge numbers. Also, they used the deity images, rulers, ideas, and animals to show their power and authority over the coins and the economy. Okay, and also dinar was there, gold coins. Okay, and rupak was there, silver coins. Got it? Now let's move forward. The Gupta coins we had. The Gupta Empire issued the gold coins known as dinar. Okay, their gold coins are also known as dinars. Okay, and remember, there was a first person whose name was Chandragupta II who issued silver coins. Okay, Chandragupta II, who was a Gupta ruler, was the first who issued silver coins in the Gupta rulers. Okay, to mark his victory over Shaka ruler. So there was a dynasty known as Shak. He defeated the dynasty and then he started silver coins to mark his victory. Got it? Second thing was Ramgupta, who was also the ruler of Gupta dynasty, who started lead coins. Okay, who started the lead coins. Got it? Now let's move forward. The South Indian coins. Now we have the South Indian coins. So basically, the South Indian dynasties, which are Chola, Cheras, also issued their coinages often made of copper and gold. Okay, so basically you can say in the South India, the coins are mainly of the copper and gold. Okay, because it is South India and the major dynasties were Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas of that time, and they all together form a period of Sangham age. Okay, and this Sangham age is related with the Tamil language. Okay, so basically you can say because these rulers belong to the Sangham age and Sangham age was having the Tamil language. That's why all the coins and inscriptions published during this period were in the language of Tamil. Okay, now let's move forward. Regional variations, yes. India's vast size and regional diversity led to a wide range of gold coins and coin designs. As we know, in the northwestern part where the Greek rulers were there, we had the gold coins. Similarly, in the eastern part where we had the Gupta rulers, we had silver and lead coins. Okay, similar about the inscriptions. Like in south, we know that the inscriptions were mainly in the Tamil. Okay, so now let's move forward. Artistic value. Indian coins are notable for their artistic and aesthetic qualities, often featuring intricate designs, detailed engravings, and the fine craftsmanship. Okay, so students, basically in this lecture, we have completed the ancient part of static history. In this next lecture, we will proceed with the medieval history. Till then, revise the facts so that you will be able to understand the upcoming concepts clearly. Till then, thank you.